Archaeologists are digging through thousands of newly discovered artifacts found recently.
Every artifact holds a story, but some stories are darker, stranger, and more chilling than we could ever imagine. Forgotten structures, haunting remains, and mysterious relics reveal secrets humanity may never have been ready to uncover.
This was a unique and unusual discovery because a Tyrannosaurus skeleton with prey items preserved inside the stomach region.
Here are 20 terrifying archaeological discoveries that will leave you shocked.
Wow, this is a spectacular room. What is this?
The Pit of Bones. Long before written history, before civilization, before even modern humans walked the earth, a dark mystery was sealed away in stone. Deep in Spain's Atapuerca Mountains, a gruesome scene unfolds as you descend into the depths of a cave. Dozens of ancient skeletons litter the rocky floor, their bones jumbled and scattered. But upon closer inspection, a disturbing story begins to emerge. Many of the skulls bear the unmistakable marks of violence, crushed and shattered by brutal blows. Who were these unfortunate souls, and what dark fate befell them? Dating back a staggering 430,000 years, this prehistoric charnel house contains the remains of at least 28 individuals, from strong young men to elderly women and children. One ill-fated victim stands out from the rest, his skull smashed to bits by multiple impacts from a blunt object, perhaps a wooden club or stone axe. The first known murder victim in human history. But this ancient crime scene, known as the Pit of Bones, raises more questions than answers. Were these people massacred by enemies, sacrificed in a grisly ritual, or did they fall victim to a catastrophic accident? One thing is certain: the Pit of Bones offers an unprecedented glimpse into the dark side of human nature, going back to our earliest days. But prehistoric violence pales compared to what lurked in an Italian cemetery. A man who didn't just carry a weapon, he became one. The knife-armed man. Unearthing a cemetery is grim work at the best of times, but nothing could prepare the archaeologists excavating a burial ground in northern Italy for the macabre sight that awaited them. Amidst the tangle of 1,500-year-old skeletons, one stood out from the rest: a middle-aged man with a blade for a hand. On his left arm, from just below the elbow, a single-edged knife had been attached, its wicked point still sharp after centuries in the grave. Like a real-life Edward Scissorhands, he must have made a shocking impression in 6th century society. But was he a disabled man, making the best of a bad situation, a warrior proudly bearing his battle scars, or a bloodthirsty killer forever marked by his crimes? The mystery only deepens when you examine his teeth, which show signs of extreme wear, and his skeleton, with its unusual bony ridges. Experts believe he may have tightened leather straps with his teeth to keep his deadly prosthesis in place. Perhaps this blade wasn't just for show, but a functional tool he relied on in his day-to-day life. A glimpse into a world we can scarcely imagine. While a medieval warrior adapted with blade in hand, beneath Mediterranean waves lay another kind of warrior, this one carved from marble and myth. Hercules statue head. Imagine the surprise of divers exploring a 2,000-year-old shipwreck off the stormy coast of Greece. Amidst the scattered amphorae and corroded anchors, they spot a ghostly face peering up from the sea floor. A marble visage, serenely untouched by the centuries, until they realize the awful truth. This once majestic sculpture is missing its body, just a severed head, forlorn and forgotten in the gloom. But what a head it is, crowned with a lion's mane of curls, The face bears the unmistakable likeness of the Greek demigod Hercules, the super-strong, monster-slaying hero of myth. From just this tantalizing fragment, experts have pieced together an incredible story. The head likely belonged to a much larger statue, standing perhaps 9 feet tall, its Herculean bulk too heavy for the doomed ship's cargo. Weathered and crusted with centuries of sand and shells, the sculpture still exudes an aura of raw power. You can almost imagine the rippling muscles and club raised in triumph, a powerful embodiment of one of the ancient world's most enduring legends. But not all ancient powers were benevolent like Hercules. In the mountains of Kyrgyzstan, archaeologists uncovered the origins of humanity's deadliest enemy, Black Death origins. For centuries, the Black Death has cast a long shadow over human history, a grim specter that conjures visions of pustule-ridden corpses and desolate medieval streets. This merciless pandemic wiped out up to 60% of Europe's population in the 14th century, leaving a trail of destruction that still chills us to this day. But the plague's origins have remained shrouded in mystery until now. High in the mountains of Kyrgyzstan, a team of researchers made a startling discovery: ancient tombstones bearing the earliest known traces of the Black Death. Dated to 1338 CE, nearly a decade before the plague engulfed Europe, the inscriptions tell of a terrible pestilence that ravaged the area. But most shockingly, DNA analysis of bodies exhumed from these graves tested positive for plague bacteria, confirming this isolated region as the Black Death's ground zero. Like a deadly Silk Road souvenir, the plague likely hitched a ride on trade caravans, spreading its contagion from the steppes of Central Asia to the densely populated cities of the Middle East, North Africa, and Europe. These humble tombstones, etched with tales of sorrow, rewrite the history of the world's most notorious killer. No longer an enigma, the Black Death can now be traced to one fateful spot on the map. A chilling reminder of the global impact of pandemics. From history's deadliest pandemic to history's most disturbing burial, Scotland's peat bogs were about to reveal that some ancient practices are better left buried. Scottish Frankenstein. On a windswept shore in Scotland, a grim discovery awaits. Buried in the peat, 2 bodies lie side by side, but all is not as it seems. Upon closer inspection, a shocking secret comes to light. These ancient cadavers are not what they appear. They are patchwork people, composite mummies cobbled together from the parts of multiple individuals, a grotesque jigsaw puzzle in human skin and bone. The mummified woman is a monstrous chimera, her head belonging to a man, attached to the torso of a female and the arm of a third unidentified person. In her hands, she clutches the teeth of her mismatched skull. Beside her, the male is stitched together from no fewer than 3 different men. An archaeological abomination. Dating back 3,000 years to Scotland's Bronze Age, these macabre mummies raise more questions than answers. Were these unlucky souls the victims of a deranged killer, dismembered and reassembled as a perverse trophy? Did they die from natural causes, only to be cannibalized for parts in an ancient mummification marketplace? Or do they represent something even darker, a pagan ritual perhaps designed to combine the power of multiple souls into one supernatural form? We may never know for sure. Yet Scotland's dark history doesn't end with Bronze Age body horror. Centuries later, the same soil would soak up the tears of innocent women branded as witches. The Witch Prison. Venture down a winding path in the Scottish countryside, and you'll find an ancient church ruin with a dark secret. Within the mossy walls of St. Mary's Chapel lurks a chilling remnant of a bygone age. An iron ring, rusted with age, embedded in the stone, a ghostly artifact from a time when fear and superstition ruled the land. This unassuming church once served a sinister purpose as a makeshift prison for accused witches. During the Great Scottish Witch Hunt of the 16th century, dozens of women were rounded up and brought to St. Mary's, where they awaited trial and almost certain execution. Chained to the walls by their necks, these unfortunate souls were forced to endure horrific conditions at the mercy of their zealous captors. For the accused, there was no escape. In a world where crops failed and children sickened, witches made the perfect scapegoats. Anyone could be denounced. A beggar muttering curses in the street, a widow living alone on the outskirts of town. The mere whisper of witchcraft was a death sentence. Imagine the terror of being dragged from your home, your dignity stripped away as the iron collar snapped shut around your throat. Your only crime being born in an age of darkness and paranoia. This lonely church ruin stands as a stark reminder of the untold human lives shattered by the cruelty of the past. From one suffocating prison to another, but this time, the killers weren't superstitious townspeople, but military minds who turned science into a deadly weapon. Poison gas, Edura Europos. Imagine you're a Roman soldier, hunkered down in the scorching Syrian desert, besieged by a relentless Persian army. Supplies are running low, the walls are crumbling, but you've got a cunning plan. You'll tunnel under the city, emerge behind enemy lines, and stage a surprise attack. What could possibly go wrong? But as you and your comrades dig deeper, an acrid stench fills the air. Your eyes water, your lungs burn. Suddenly, men are choking, writhing on the ground, gasping their last breaths. This is no ordinary siege. It's one of the earliest known instances of chemical warfare. In 256 CE, 20 desperate Romans met a grisly end, not by sword or arrow, but by toxic gas. The evidence, unearthed by archaeologists in 2009, tells a chilling tale. The Persians, it seems, had wind of the Romans' plan. They dug their own tunnel, piled it high with bitumen and sulfur, and set it ablaze. The resulting blast of noxious fumes flooded the Roman tunnel, suffocating everyone inside. Crystals formed from the gas still cling to the walls, a deadly residue, 1,800 years in the making. While Persian ingenuity proved deadly in the desert heat, nature would demonstrate her own brutal efficiency in the frozen north, claiming not 20 soldiers, but an entire expedition. Death in the ice. The Arctic is a brutal mistress, and no one knows that better than Sir John Franklin. In 1845, this veteran explorer set sail for the Northwest Passage, hoping to chart a trade route through the icy labyrinth. With 2 state-of-the-art ships and 128 hand-picked men, victory seemed assured. But the Arctic had other plans. Somewhere near Canada's King William Island, disaster struck. The ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, became hopelessly stuck in the pack ice. Supplies dwindled and morale plummeted. Men started succumbing to scurvy, tuberculosis, and lead poisoning from poorly soldered cans. And then, the true nightmare began. Evidence suggests that some of the starving survivors resorted to cannibalism, hacking flesh from the frozen corpses of their crewmates. Cut marks on bones, cracked open for marrow, paint a grim picture of desperation. In the end, all 129 men perished, their hopes of glory shattered in the pitiless ice. Graves found on nearby beachy island attest to their suffering, a poignant reminder of the high price of hubris in the face of nature's might. While the Arctic kept its deadly grip on Franklin's crew, another group of explorers left their mark much further south, in a place where Viking footsteps were never meant to tread. Viking Runes in the heartland. In the rolling hills of Oklahoma, a startling secret lay hidden for centuries. Scattered among the scrubby brush, strange stones bear an ancient script, runes carved by Viking hands. But what were these Norse adventurers doing so far from their Scandinavian homeland? The answer may lie in the stones themselves. One, dubbed the Heavener Runestone, reads Gloam's Valley, a cryptic clue to a long-lost settlement. Could these intrepid explorers have pushed deeper into North America than anyone realized, leaving their mark on the virgin wilderness? It's a tantalizing mystery that challenges our understanding of Viking exploration. While the famous Norse colony of Lanso Meadows in Newfoundland was thought to be the westernmost outpost, these Oklahoma runes hint at a much more extensive presence. Perhaps these venturesome voyagers navigated the waterways of the Gulf Coast, seeking new lands to farm and plunder. Or maybe they were drawn by tales of vast riches and gleaming cities to the south. Whatever their motive, these enigmatic stones stand as compelling evidence of the reach and daring of the Viking Age. If Viking stones hint at untold journeys, Greece holds structures that suggest even more fantastic possibilities. Buildings so massive they were said to house dragons. Mysterious dragon houses. On a sun-baked mountaintop in Greece, a hiker stumbles upon a sight that seems straight out of a fairy tale. Towering stone walls, carefully fitted together without mortar, form the shell of a massive home. But this is no ordinary dwelling. It's far too big for human habitation. Who or what could have built such a thing? Welcome to the dragon houses of Euboea. Scattered across the island's rugged terrain, these megalithic structures have baffled archaeologists for centuries. Some believe they were the work of a long-vanished race of giants, or even the mythical dragons that gave them their name. But the truth may be even stranger. Experts now believe these cyclopean buildings may have served as granaries or storehouses, built to withstand the region's frequent earthquakes. The precision of the stonework is astounding. Huge limestone blocks, some weighing over a ton, fitted together with laser-like accuracy. No wonder the locals attributed them to supernatural forces. Even today, standing in the shadow of these silent sentinels, it's hard not to feel a sense of awe and a shiver of something that feels very much like magic. If Greek stones inspire awe with their precision, another stone discovery would spark controversy with its claims, promising answers to America's oldest mystery. Dare stones hoax or history? In the tangled swamps of North Carolina, a mystery lingers, the fate of the lost colony of Roanoke. In 1587, over 100 English settlers vanished without a trace from this windswept outpost, leaving behind a single clue: the word Croatoan carved into a tree. For centuries, their disappearance has haunted the American imagination. But in 1937, a shocking discovery reignited the mystery. That year, a series of stones surfaced, inscribed with cryptic messages allegedly written by Eleanor Dare, daughter of the colony's leader. The stones told a grim tale of sickness, starvation, and massacre by hostile tribes. The few survivors, Eleanor among them, fled inland, pursued by vengeful warriors. But the story soon unraveled. Experts denounced the stones as an elaborate hoax, the crudely carved messages riddled with anachronisms and errors. Yet the legend persists, and to this day, new Dare stones keep turning up, each promising fresh clues to the lost colonists' grim fate. Forgery or fragment of history? In the murky depths of America's oldest unsolved mystery, the truth remains as elusive as ever. While some stones tell questionable tales, others protect undeniable treasures, as workers in England were about to discover, buried beneath centuries of mud, the Rutland Sea Dragon. Imagine you're a construction worker excavating a muddy field in the heart of England. The sun beats down. The work is grueling. Suddenly, your backhoe strikes something hard. Stone? No, bone. And not just any bone. As you scrape away the clay, an enormous skull emerges, bristling with jagged teeth. Ribs longer than a man arc gracefully through the earth. This is no dinosaur. It's something far stranger. In January 2022, the largest and most complete ichthyosaur skeleton ever found in Britain came to light in a Rutland reservoir. Measuring over 32 feet long and weighing a ton, this Jurassic-era marine reptile was the apex predator of its time, a streamlined killer that ruled the waves while dinosaurs thundered across the land. The sheer size of the specimen is staggering, but what really sets it apart is its pristine condition. Jaw bones, teeth, limbs, and vertebrae are all spectacularly preserved, a priceless window into a lost world. For paleontologists, it's the find of a lifetime. A sea monster frozen in time, waiting 180 million years to reveal its secrets. While one ancient predator emerged from English mud, another armored giant was waiting in Canadian stone. This one with preservation so remarkable it would rewrite the books. Dragon in the Mine. Deep in the heart of Alberta's oil sands, a beast slumbered. For millions of years, it lay entombed in the earth, waiting for the day when its stony sepulchre would be breached. In 2011, that day arrived. The miners of the Millennium Mine had seen their share of fossils, but nothing could prepare them for the sight that greeted them that fateful morning. There, embedded in the shale, was an enormous creature, armored scales gleaming, massive club tail curled as if in sleep. A dinosaur, more perfectly preserved than any the miners had ever seen. At 18 feet long and over 3,000 pounds, this incredible specimen was no mere lizard. It was a nodosaur, a heavily armored plant eater built like a walking tank. But what made it truly remarkable was its condition. Somehow, this 100 million-year-old creature had been mummified, its skin, scales, and even some internal organs intact. It was as if it had died mere weeks ago, a snapshot of the Cretaceous, captured in stone. For paleontologists, it was a once-in-a-lifetime find, a new benchmark for what fossil preservation could achieve. And for the rest of us, it was a breathtaking glimpse into a long-vanished world, a place where dragons roamed and the earth remembers. While Canada's dragons showed us the marvels of natural preservation, Peru's highlands held something more haunting, a mummy whose final pose speaks of secrets and shame. A mummy's shame. In the arid highlands of Peru, a grim discovery awaits. Wrapped tightly in ropes, like a macabre cocoon, a mummy lies curled in an earthen tomb. But this is no ordinary burial. The body is contorted into a fetal position, its leathery hands covering its face in an eternal gesture of shame. Who was this man, and what dark deeds drove him to such a fate? Dating back over 800 years, this mysterious mummy bears the marks of a life cut short. His bones show no signs of disease or trauma, no clues to an untimely demise. But the manner of his burial speaks volumes. In ancient Peruvian culture, mummies were typically lavished with grave goods and laid to rest with honor. This man, buried hastily and without ceremony, was different. Experts believe he may have been an outcast, shunned by his community for some unforgivable transgression. adultery, cowardice, betrayal of the gods. Any of these could have warranted such a disgraceful end. Bound like a criminal, denied even the dignity of an upturned face, he carries his shame into eternity. A silent reminder that in the world of the ancient Andes, some sins were beyond redemption. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. In Russia, it was reported that archaeologists made a significant discovery, one of the terrifying archaeological discoveries that will leave you shocked. This find isn't just big, it's massive. A humanoid skull, seemingly the size of a modern human's body. Some speculate it could belong to a long-lost species of giants, but little else is known about this mysterious discovery. What do you think? Is this the real evidence of giants, or just a cleverly staged hoax? Share your thoughts in the comments. Footprints in the sands of time. While some archaeological claims stand on shaky ground, others leave lasting impressions. Quite literally, in the heart of New Mexico's Tularosa Basin, a trail of footprints tells a story. Pressed into the gypsum mud of White Sands National Park, these tracks are no ordinary impressions. They are the traces of a journey begun 23,000 years ago, when mammoths and dire wolves still roamed the continent, and humans were the new kids on the block. Discovered in 2021, these astonishing prints challenge everything we thought we knew about the people of the Americas. Conventional wisdom held that humans first arrived on the continent around 13,000 years ago, crossing the Bering Land Bridge from Asia in pursuit of game. But the White Sands tracks push that timeline back by a staggering 10,000 years. The implications are profound. These early pioneers weren't just following the herds, they were blazing a trail into an unknown world. Ranging from tiny toddlers to strapping adults, the prints paint a picture of a thriving community, moving with purpose across the landscape. But where did they come from? And what became of them in the ensuing millennia? For now, the answers remain as elusive as the shifting sands. But one thing is certain, the story of human migration just got a whole lot more complex. While prehistoric families left their mark in ancient mud, another human story lay buried beneath modern asphalt. This one crowned in controversy and tragedy. Mapping the Holy Land. Imagine you're a 6th century pilgrim, weary from months on the road. As you approach the city of Madaba, your heart lifts at the sight of the glittering mosaics that adorn the local church. But as you step inside, your jaw drops in amazement. There, spread across the floor, is a map of the Holy Land, a vivid tapestry of cities, rivers, and sacred sites, all rendered in intricate detail. Today, the Madaba map remains one of the most stunning, surviving artifacts of the Byzantine era. Measuring 51 by 19 feet, it encompasses a vast swathe of the Middle East, from Lebanon to Egypt. At its heart lies Jerusalem, its streets and landmarks picked out in meticulous tesserae. It is the oldest known depiction of the Holy City and a priceless window into a lost world. For centuries, the map illuminated both path and faith, its vibrant colors beckoning pilgrims to walk in the footsteps of the prophets. Even now, its precision astounds. Scores of biblical sites, from Jericho to Mount Sinai, are rendered with near-photographic accuracy, a feat all the more impressive given the rudimentary surveying tools of the age. In an era when maps were often more myth than reality, the Madaba map stands as a towering achievement of art, science, and the human spirit. If the Madaba map shows us how ancients preserved sacred space, our next discovery reveals how they tried to preserve something even more precious: human knowledge itself. the daughter of wisdom. In the heart of ancient Alexandria, a great temple of knowledge once stood. The Library of Alexandria was renowned throughout the classical world as a beacon of learning. Its vast collection of scrolls drawing scholars from across the Mediterranean. But as the city grew, so too did the need for knowledge, and the great library soon had a rival. Enter the Serapeum, a magnificent temple complex built to honor the Greco-Egyptian god Serapis. Within its walls, a daughter library took root, its shelves groaning under the weight of countless texts. Here, philosophers debated the nature of the cosmos, astronomers charted the motion of the stars, and physicians plumbed the secrets of the human body. For centuries, the Serapeum stood as a bastion of wisdom, its halls echoing with the voices of the ancient world's greatest minds. But the rise of Christianity spelled its doom. In 391 CE, the temple was sacked by a zealous mob, its scrolls burned, and its statues smashed. The great library met a similar fate, its priceless collection lost to the flames of religious fervor. It wasn't until the 1940s that archaeologists unearthed the ruins of the once mighty Serapeum. Amidst the rubble, they found tantalizing clues to its former glory. Fragments of scrolls, broken inkwells, and the scattered remains of shattered dreams. While the Serapeum's remains hint at lost knowledge, another discovery would reveal an entire lost world of power and mystery. The Palace of the Axe. On the sun-drenched shores of Crete, a palace slumbers. Its walls rise like a mirage from the rocky hilltop, labyrinthine corridors winding beneath frescoed ceilings. This is Knossos, the oldest city in Europe, and the beating heart of the Minoan civilization. For centuries, the Minoans ruled the Aegean, their merchants plying the waves in search of fortune. At the height of their power, they raised a palace fit for a god-king, a sprawling complex of over 1,300 rooms, its walls adorned with scenes of bulls and daring acrobats. The centerpiece was the throne room, where the legendary King Minos held court, his seat flanked by the sacred double axes that gave the palace its name. But the glory of Knossos was not to last. Around 1450 BCE, the city was rocked by a massive earthquake. Its palaces toppled and its frescoes shattered. In the chaos that followed, the Mycenaeans, the Greeks of Homer's epics, swept in from the mainland, establishing their own rule over the island. The Minoans, their power broken, faded into memory. For 3,000 years, Knossos lay forgotten, its treasures buried beneath the dust of ages. It wasn't until the early 20th century that British archaeologist Sir Arthur Evans unearthed the palace, its sprawling ruins standing as living proof of a vanished world. Today, walking amidst the faded grandeur of Knossos, it's easy to imagine the bustle of the ancient city, the clatter of hooves on cobbled streets, the murmur of prayers in the temple, the laughter of children in the shaded courtyards. A reminder that even the mightiest civilizations are but fleeting moments in the grand sweep of time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.